What do Immanuel Kant and Elon Musk have in common? Well, both of them have one thing that I cherish a lot, which is they have a North Star. They talk about a lot of convoluted, philosophical, complex things, but they keep the North Star, which is there is a purpose, there is a direction, there's a clear vector that goes, okay, this is where we want to go, this is what we're optimizing for, and this is how we're going to do it. And I think this is really incredibly important for various reasons. One, I think you can't achieve anything in life unless you have that kind of North Star. I also think that it rallies the troops and it gives everybody the ability to iterate because you know what you're actually trying to optimize. So what are we optimizing for? I think the crucial question in life, the crucial question in business, the crucial question in philosophy. So Kant was really successful because he always optimized for morality. Now, you just to take this out of the way, of course, you could immediately say, well, okay, what is morality? But let's not go there. Let's say that morality is something that if we want to do something that makes everybody, if we can do something that makes people better off without hurting anybody, then we should do it. This is a categorical imperative. This is sort of what Kant said. And what Musk is saying is, as far as AI is concerned, we want to increase the amount of AI compute per watt. This is what we're optimizing for. In a recent Twitter conversation about a couple of weeks ago, he spoke about this. I want to talk about this because one, I think it's important to have a North Star, no matter what it is actually. But then of course, second, we want to make sure that that particular North Star we're talking about is also useful and leads us to wealth creation. This is an Even Wrong podcast. It's July 12, 2023. This is Krim Telco. Since the last update, we're up 30 basis points. The market's up 0.5%. For the year, we are up 130%. The market is up 15.3%. We're outperforming by 114.7%. So recently, Musk spoke about the models that they're using, that they're going from transformers to diffusion models, and then that they might even leave that behind and go to something else, and so on and so forth. Then he said, and this is the crucial thing, he said, there is no company even close in terms of useful compute, in terms of useful AI compute per watt. So he's implying that this is what this is what Tesla is optimizing for. It's useful AI compute per watt. Now we can dissect this, of course, into several graduate school research papers. What is useful AI? What is compute? And what does it mean per watt? I've spoken about this in the past in the Onur Mutlu context. I think Tesla is on the right path here. Computer science is on the right path in terms of understanding what is that compute is being measured per watt and not per, let's say, a flop or even dollars or any of that stuff. Of course, these things all come into play, but fundamentally, it's the power consumption because modern compute, particularly AI applications, are data intensive. Data needs to be moved around. That requires a lot of power. Another way to think about this is that you have intelligence, and you can actually achieve amazing things by intelligently arranging information, but that requires power, that requires energy, because you might be able to save a lot of energy if you take, for example, if you can save in the mapping of a route, you can save a lot of energy, but you need to invest some energy in terms of figuring all that stuff out. Now, humans have a brain. The human brain is very, very good at actually doing useful AI per watt. That's what we're very good at. So what Musk is doing here implicitly, he's optimizing for a human brain. So that's he's not saying that, but that's what we humans are. We are not a supercomputer in a sense that we can do something like play Go. The actual computers are better at it. But we're really, really good at doing one-shot learning and very fast adaptation to difficult situations in life. This is what we're very good at. And this is where Musk wants to go. So I want to discuss this in two realms. One is I want to talk about the importance of having a North Star, of having this culture of optimizing for X. And then second, I also want to discuss, of course, this notion that optimizing for useful AI per watt, is that the right way to go? So let's go with the first, and this was my Kant allegory. So Kant and Musk have something in common, which is they both are very clear about what they're optimizing for. Kant was optimizing for morality. And the context here is, I'm just reading, Richie Patterson's book, The Enlightenment. It's a huge tome about the Enlightenment and its significance and its mechanics and what it meant to the humanity. And the key problem in the Enlightenment, which was not solved fully, but which really drove a lot of thought, was that we wanted to get away from superstitious, vacuous, religious beliefs into rational thinking, knowing that rational thinking doesn't have all the answers. So how can we balance those two things? And Kant's solution was we optimize for morality. So we can use superstition or vacuous statements or rational statements or any kind of statements for that matter. What we really want to do is optimize for morality, because that's what we care about. Now, he defined morality in a nutshell with a categorical imperative, which is if there is something in society that can be done by an individual that improves everybody else without hurting anybody else, then that should be done. That is a moral imperative to do. That is, in a nutshell, how Kant looked at the world. I think it's a very useful way to look at the world because it has this North Star. Let's optimize for morality. If I can help my father have a nice, life in his old age without hurting anybody else. Now, hurting, of course, all of these things are subjective, but if I can do it within the context of keeping my family intact, my finances, my job, then I should be doing this because I make him better, myself better off, everybody else better off. Even the world is better off if my neighbor sees that there is a good example being made by a son taking care of his father. So I'm a little bit out on a limb here. Moral philosophy is not my strength. Kant certainly is not my strength. I haven't read Kant very deeply, but just through, let's say, Richie Patterson's book and many other such books that I've read, I have a bit of a sense for at least the essence of what Immanuel Kant has been talking about. And now I'm making the connection to Elon Musk, where I think both of them are very powerful, is that they have a North Star. Musk's North Star is optimize useful AI compute per watt. This is what he's trying to do. Now, I know that there's also $1 somewhere there. He mentioned this before, I think on the AI day, but let's not get too semantical here. What the key again is we have a North Star. Why is that important? Because it galvanizes the troops, it gives people purpose, and it lets people know, okay, what is it we're actually trying to do? So this is very important. Now let's discuss the actual validity of the North Star. Again, in Kant's case, it was morality. And I think Kant was very concerned about things like war, oppression, authoritative regimes, all those kinds of things, which were a big, big discussion during the time of the Enlightenment, because one way to define the Enlightenment is anti-authoritarian movement. Another way to define Enlightenment is, pursuit of happiness. So there's a lot of things that tie into the same vector, which is, okay, how can we increase our coexistence on this earth as humans and increase the positiveness around this coexistence? You can call this, the categorical imperative is one solution to that problem. Now, on the Musk side, the question is, okay, how can we have a car that drives itself and a robot that does jobs for us? This is what they're trying to do. This is what Musk considers useful AI. Useful is a moving target, and that's okay. Useful can be X today and Y tomorrow. Today it's a self-driving car, and it doesn't even have to drive itself everywhere, but it should be able to drive itself in most situations, and the robot should be able to do certain tasks in the factory, and so on and so forth. Now, in order to optimize for that, what Musk needs is useful AI compute per watt. This has to be optimized. Why? Because power is constrained in edge compute. Because what Musk is really doing is edge compute. Okay, the car, the robot, all these things are on the edge. I don't have access to massive energy sources, so I am a mobile device. I am a device that is not connected to, let's say, again, like a massive solar farm or anything like that. I am basically constrained by battery technology. I have to have mobile energy. I have to move my energy around with me and use it for intelligence purposes, and therefore I'm constrained. Now, as I've spoken about this in this podcast series several times, this is not just an edge computing problem. This is, in general, I think, the most interesting problem in computer science today is how to optimize for power. I'm referring to Onur Mutlud, my go-to professor when it comes to computer architecture. The reason that is the case is simply because we are now in the software 2.0 world, where data is being fed to algorithms, and algorithms are designing a certain outcome or an inference then that is useful. So in that sense, we have to find ways to move all that data into a system that is comprised of compute, but also interconnect and memory. Those are the three main components. We've also spoken about this in the context of NVIDIA. Why we are shareholders of NVIDIA is because, not necessarily just because they have GPUs. People can make GPUs, but the whole system is becoming the compute. That's a quote from Jensen Huang. And the reason we agree with that is, again, because we now have not just an sort of classical von Neumann model where we feed in data, then we have an execution and move it to memory and so on and so forth. Where we have the data is the programmer. The data is the programmer, and therefore we need solutions to optimize for power. We need solutions to optimize for compute per watt per dollar, and that's what Musk is optimizing for. So we believe the chances of success here are very high. What's also important is now the actual details of how this will be done. Is it going to be stable diffusion? Is it going to be CNNs, transformers? I think that's almost secondary. Of course, that's important, and I don't want to diminish the research that's being done in those areas. That's not the point here. But the point is that the iteration around something only has a validity if we also know what we're optimizing for. In the case of Tesla, we're optimizing again for useful AI compute per watt, useful being edge. A robot drives itself, a robot does something that we humans want that thing to do, and that's what it's considered useful. And the compute per watt is supposed to enable that action. So to summarize, the connection between Elon Musk and Kant might seem a bit far-fetched for some, but it actually is pretty close, because both of them have two things in common. One is they defined something really complex, or excuse me, they navigate something really complex by finding a North Star, a purpose, and then they apply solutions to that particular purpose. So in the case of Kant, it was the complexity of dealing with the shift from superstitious, vacuous religious thought towards rational thinking in the Enlightenment, which he solved by putting morality as a North Star and saying, look, whatever we use, whatever model, whatever thinking we use, how about we optimize for morality? The categorical imperative was one of the outcomes. And with Musk, we have the complexity of AI, what is intelligence, what kind of models should we be using. There's a lot of degrees of freedom here, and the optimization North Star is we want to optimize useful AI compute per watt. As a final note, I just want to use the concept of what is really useful knowledge, right? The useful knowledge is knowledge that proliferates itself throughout the multiverse, the universe. I don't care about multiverse, universe conversations right now, but think about it this way, very simple. Things that stick. Okay, what is going to stick? Kant is sticking for 300 years because it's useful. And that's the same goal that Tesla has, and that's how we think we can not just generate wealth, which is of course amazing, but also make a really, really good impact on the world by investing in Tesla and NVIDIA. Thank you.